Welcome back, everybody. As you can see, we are starting back on the Sport Quattro. And yeah, and also, hey, look, I'm not wearing a heavy coat. So in New Hampshire, it's just starting to warm up. Man, yeah. I mean, the black flies are out, but I'd much rather have it warm. As you can see, the rally car over there I just moved it over there, and I looked at it again after I stopped the video, and yeah, I gotta do a couple more other things and stuff like that. But when I do the body work, I'll do it. I'm still in debate on how I'm gonna do that. This thing, what do we have to do? We'll have to pull pull all this stuff up, drop the drivetrain, put it on the rotisserie. I'm gonna do the brakes. I'm not gonna do the exhaust on this yet. I'm gonna wait till end. That it's not gonna be too much of a problem. But the main thing is getting this thing on the rotisserie so I can start figuring out exactly where everything is going to be, plate everything, and tie in all the mounts, all that stuff, make it final, and then do the inner arch welds. I got to fiberglass the internal portions of the front fenders like I did on that, and pretty much get the thing all squared away, ready to panel bond, because hopefully within a little bit, probably a month or so, I'll have this, it'll be warm enough to panel bond, hopefully, it's gotta be this year, and that's pretty much it, I mean, everything else is pretty straightforward on what I'm doing, and as you can fast forward this to the end and I'll go through the summary, because this one is, same thing with that one, this is, what I'm doing on this video is just a matter of record to show you that I did it myself. I think I proved it with that piece of junk, and I'll prove it with this shit box too. So, but it's getting there, and I'm actually kind of crappy to actually throw this thing on the lift and start doing it, because I want to get all the loose ends tied up. And I got to redo the rear fender wells anyway. So, all right, without any further ado, let's push this shit box on the lift and start yanking everything out of it. Don't forget to mark everything. I put SQ front left. I'm going to go around the entire thing and do that. Just to make sure. Well, you can always not do it and then trial and error, put it all back together again, but this is just easier. Yes, Bob, it was easier. You shame me into getting one. Let me show you what I'm doing before I weld it all in. You see I put a tube here. This is the old mount for the subframe. It still has the nut inside there that slides around. You could put a bolt inside there. If I ever decide to use it for something, I have it. But what is this? This is a drain tube. I want to make sure all the water, because this is the low spot in the actual frame or unibody frame, I want it to drain out this way. So I don't want water to collect. That's my big thing. I welded on the internal portion, because I welded on the external over here. I welded on the internal, welded on the internal here and here. Everything is sealed up on the inside. Then when I put this on, I notched this section. This is 1/8 inch plate right here. I notched this out, so I'm going to weld this tube to this section right here, then weld it all onto this mount and weld it onto the chassis. I am going to slice right here, bend this up so I can weld onto the mount where this where the radiator mount is. That way I will have a much more stable mount. Then I will build down towards this, because I have to have a plate right here that goes down to here that also welds into this mount. That way it boxes the entire section in. And on the top here, I got to weld a box section into here. So when this thing goes this way, it actually forces into that side. That's pretty much it. All right, let me get my welder revved up again. I'm going to probably, actually, I think I might just slice this right now, bend it up so I can weld it all in one shot. Just wanted to show you everything in here. This is hot. I welded everything on the inside. Now I got to put the plate on and weld it. But make sure everything on the inside is also welded. I'm going to weld on the inside of this section too. So it's absolutely strong. When I welded, there was a groove, of course, because when I bent everything over, there's the groove. And I go into the middle of the groove I watch the pool of weld come up, and then I fan it out all the way up so there's good penetration. Just to let you know, that's how I did it. Let me get back on to welding this plate in. That way we can get on to moving this plate, then we can move back over to the other side. All right, before I go any further, I wanted to explain to you what I did here, just in case I forget for the end. What it is, we have our frame rail section right here. I'm not going to touch this. This thing is boiling hot. But what I did, I took the material from the table saw stand. I cut it up because it's really thick. I welded it fully on the internal part of the actual box rail or frame rail right here, creating or a termination point of the frame rail right here. Why did I want to terminate it here? A couple reasons. First thing, this is where the air comes down and comes out and goes into the brakes, and then it goes out through the wheel. Remember what I said with a rally car. This would be a low pressure system with the air moving across right here, and the air basically pulls, or that's a high pressure system out here, and it pulls the air out. Now I terminated it right here because the exact opposite on this side is the engine mount. The engine mount is right here, right there. So our frame rail is shorter, so it actually should be stiffer. Everything's welded in the internal portion. Now on this section right here, as you can see, this is bent down, this plate. There's an internal and external portion of the outer frame rail. So I basically cut this away, I bent it down, I welded this to the internal portion of the frame rail. Then I bent this back down and re-welded it to this. So this is all stationary, same thing. The inner and outer part right here, I welded all the way around and conjoined those parts. So you get stiffness in this box section. This is actually a mount at this point. This is not really a frame rail. But it channels air from the front of the car into here, cools the brakes. Also, I welded everything down through here and plated everything. It's all triangulated, so it's pretty good to go. I'm going to let this cool down for a little second. Then when I go up, I'm going to kind of start finishing the back, and I'm going to cut off some of the stuff on the bottom on the other side, just because it's easier, because when this thing flips up, it's just right there. All right, that's what I wanted to say before I forget at the end. Hopefully I'll remember it at the end, but I probably won't. All right, okay, let's continue on, and let me just continue on trimming that stuff up, and let me show you what I'm going to do for the rear part, or basically the same thing as the front, you know, pretty much. All right, let me just get going and stop blabbing. Before I start welding everything, I wanted to show you what I'm doing. All of these plates right here that I cut up, this is all going to be a honeycomb structure. What it is, you see this? You have a plate right here, plates right here to support to the chassis. I want to box this section in with this plate. Now when I box this section in with this plate goes over here. Then I am going to go with other plates that I made over here, right there,
like this one goes right, which way did it go? Yeah, went like that. That's it. That's it. It went like that. So this plate goes right here. It's still got to be trimmed a little bit, you know, but I need to get these welded in. Then with the size of the bead that's on here, on how I'm going to do it, then I got to put this on here and trim it down so it doesn't affect the bolt, and it actually supports this side and this side, or the bottom part of this mount. Same thing with the inner portion right here. When this is all welded up, then I can figure out where exactly this thing will go underneath like that. You know, this will be trimmed, go underneath here, because I want it to support where this comes down. I want it to support right there, like that. Because this is all rough trimmed out. And then when that is done, I got to box the entire section in with this plate. And then I got to trim it after all this is welded, trim it to exactly where I want it, and then weld this entire box section in. So this whole thing is extremely rugged, especially for the control arm mount. That's the big thing. But I want to benefit of all this boxing to stiffen up the transmission mount also. That's kind of my deal. I just wanted to go through that before I started welding, because I'm not going to talk and it's going to take me a long time to weld this. I got to be pretty careful. And the reason why I got to be careful is underneath here is a bunch of undercoating, which I want to keep. So when I weld this, I got to start the weld on this thick plate and just basically feed it in, just so it doesn't overheat the metal. I got to stop, then go somewhere else, stop, go somewhere else, stop, go somewhere else, and then eventually feed it in. And hopefully the undercoating underneath that won't revert, how can I put, trap in the heat to allow the metal to just basically explode. That's the only thing. But after all of this work, I made my bed and I got to lie in it. Why do I do this? Why did I pick a sport Quattro to do? Why? You know? I am absolutely insane. All right. Let me just start. Let me get the welder warmed up, my gloves on, and get the grinder right there, and we'll just make it work. Well, there it is. It's pretty much done. After one small thing in there, that's pretty hot. I tried to show you everything. You have to weld the inside and the outside, and that's what I did. And every single thing is welded here. If I miss something, I'll go back and fix it. That's pretty much it. I'll show you this. Here it is. I got to do the other side. All right, but I want to show you that, and this welding took a full day. Just to let you know, this is what it's going to take. Because you have to sit there and you have to grind it and do that. So, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut the camera off and spin this thing around and do the best of it tomorrow. Or try and get, just keep going. All right. All the mounts pretty much basically all squared away. What do we have? Everything's triangulated into the chassis. Ooh, that's warm. What it is we have the radiator mount, control arm mounts, engine mounts, and transmission mounts all set in, all integrated. All the old mounts have been taken off, grinded down, plugs, and the holes filled. Firewall, everything is patched, everything is welded along with the clutch master pedal box. Pretty much that's all squared away. Everything is done on that. I figured I'd just give a little intermission of what I did. Remember, this thing right here is all plated, but we have drain holes. Lowest section in the frame rail, I have a drain hole right here, drain hole right there, all the way around, and that's at the very least. At the best, we can use them. We have nutserts in the bottom that we can screw stuff into, like a tie, tie plate for the skid plate or whatever. We have the ability to use them. That's the big thing. Also, we have the brake ducts in, and I cleaned up all the old mounts, welded the firewall. All that stuff is done. Now I got to go around. I got to all the mounts right here for the front. Now that it's upended, I got to weld that all in. Then we're gonna go in and start doing the wheel wells, and that'll be in till after we get all the wheel wells in this section. I'm not really sure if we're gonna keep this rocker section right here, but first things first, I got to do the wheel wells. I got to cut the rears. Actually, the first thing I'm going to cut the rears, redo them, because that's the most critical. This is the second most critical, and then I will set the plates up inside here after I fiberglass the insides to stiffen these fenders up. That's pretty much it. So I just figured I'd just make this a small intermission, and let's just continue on. Well, the structure is done. And it is a long time in the coming. Like, wow. I am not going to put these in. I'm not welding them, and that's the reason why I'm going to stop the video right now. To basically say, it's all set. We have to panel bond next, and these things will go in after I panel bond. What it is that, you know, this is protecting everything on the inside like that. But I got to clean off this undercoating. But I have to make sure everything's set up because it's getting weathered for me to panel bond both cars. And I have to actually, I'm probably going to do it in sections. I'm probably going to do it rear quarters first, then I'll do fronts, front fenders, and then I will do the rockers. The rockers seem to be probably the worst thing in them, but I don't know yet. I mean, they're a lot worse on the rally car than they are on this. But other than that, all the structure's done. There it is. I mean, it's all welded. Pretty happy about this. You know, like I said before, I got access to all the nut certs that basically held the subframe in, but it's also low drainage holes. And brake ducts are all in. Everything's welded. Everything is welded in the front. Everything is welded in the firewall. I don't know. I mean, yeah, have I missed something? Easily. There's so many things to do. And the big thing is that yeah, it's right. I mean, it's getting weather to panel bond. I got to panel bond it because that's after I panel bond everything. You know, this section right here onto here. Then I can put this in, panel bond the corners right here, and weld the internal portions to the chassis. Then I'll seam seal them. That way, nothing gets in. That's a big thing. As you saw with the back, I lowered the wheel arches a little, you know, so the wheel will have compression into the wheel arch. That's pretty much it. But all right, everybody, there's your Sport Quattro. You can build it. Whether or not you want to, it's another thing. Oh my God. It's just like, well, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Well, of course, I'm doing too. So, but it's a lot of work, and yeah, it'd be a lot of cleanup too. But I had to do these things in 3 pieces. That's the big thing. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say. That's the progress in the sport. I wanted to stop the video because I am so far behind on videos. You'll probably see this in next winter by the time I get to it. But by the time you see this, all these will be panel bonded. Good, for better or for worse, they'll be panel bonded. But next thing is I got to do all the final touch body work, all the internal portions, everything, and make sure everything is all set. Because once you panel bond, you're done. No going back. So, but remember, you can do this. I'm just some stupid hillbilly up here in New Hampshire, you know, mucking about with these things. If I can do it, you can definitely do it. Trust me. Just have to put your mind to it and just say, yeah, I'm not smart enough to stop. That's all. All right, everybody. Thanks again. Appreciate you. Appreciate you watching. Talk to you later. Bye now.